Yeah, I think it's more important like to work the movement.
The joint action,
Right? It doesn't
right?
matter what's involved
Right.
per se. It's
Yeah.
like, can you do this movement, and then
Exactly.
knowing what's involved, so you can maybe assess something. What's
Yeah.
going, what's the dysfunction?
Yep. Definitely.
Ultimately, we want to be able to do each of these movements
Exactly.
without pain.
Right. And I think that's, unless you're sticking EMG or shoving a needle in someone's muscle, how do you really know what's taking the majority of the action?
Do they talk about synergists, or it's often termed as an agonist, right?
Well, we're talking about synergists all over the place right now,
that's the
which
term.
is why I'm having a seizure. I think.
Synergist, agonist, and antagonist.
Yeah. It's just.
And this is why I think, I mean, it seems like you guys are taking this better than me, but I think this is why we have changed the terminology to plyometric and myometric tissue, because we're talking about what tissue is contracting and moving the joint, or decontracting and moving the joint, and so
Right, decontracting and moving the joint.
right.
Decontracting and moving the joint. Or returning the joint to its
We're talking about under load, you know.
So this says in anatomy, agonists, antagonists, and synergists are terms used to describe the roles of the muscles in the body's musculoskeletal system. An agonist is the primary muscle that contracts to produce force and creates a specific movement.
Thank you. Yeah, and then
An antagonist is the muscle with the opposite action of the agonist.
lengthening,
When the agonist contracts, the antagonist relaxes and lengthens to allow movement.
which it doesn't relax, it decontracts. Yeah.
And then the synergist is a muscle that assists the agonist in moving a specific body part. The synergist can also stabilize the muscle's origin.
synergist is tagging along.
Yeah.
Still makes it sound like that though, right?
Yeah.
The synergist is not the agonist. Agonist is the king.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go there. In my mind, you guys
Okay.
can go where you want to go with that.
I mean, since we have to like sometimes know all those different, it's just repeating like, okay, the definitions, but then maybe that doesn't really matter in
It's
this
just-
realm.
It's
Yeah.
it's
But
because
it's
when
like
we're could you read
terminology.
synergy one more time, man? I'm sorry. I know we're totally getting
Yeah.
derailed here.
A muscle that assists the agonist in moving a specific part of the body.
System,
Assists the agonist in moving something.
essentially moving it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just not the primary movement.
It's like the teres major comes along with the lat.
Yeah,
The lat's
exactly.
like call to action, and the teres major is like, okay, here I am too.
Like maybe the last
I'm
doing
going
like
along for a
70% of
Yeah.
the, and then
Okay.
the teres major is doing
And
30%.
then it was interesting. You were saying about the anchoring of
Or also stabilizes the muscle's origin.
What does that mean? Stabilizes the muscle's origin.
So where does the lat originate? The spine doesn't originate here. No way.
That's the insertion. The
Right.
origin of the lat was.
It also depends on what's moving.
Yeah.
Also, right? If your arm isn't moving and your body is moving, we could argue that this is the origin.
Yeah.
Like if it's affixed and you're laterally flexing your spine, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. That could technically be the stabilizing system. I'm getting into the weeds here. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
This is saying so. An example of a synergist is the brachialis for forearm flexion. The brachialis is a synergist. I guess
Because.
it's not. I guess the primary movement. It's not doing.
Okay.
Fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
Fair
I
enough.
think you're right. It doesn't really matter.
I'm not trying to be right or wrong. I'm just exploring this with
Yeah,
you
yeah,
guys because I think we've kind of come a long ways in explaining what this thing is doing.
Yeah.
And to be honest, this book is 25 years old, so it's interesting to just explore these ideas. So yeah, I don't think there's a right or wrong.
Yeah, they're just trying to simplify it and say, okay, so people can think about like.
I think they're complicating it by
Saying something more than the other.
yeah, like saying a lat's more important from a torque production standpoint. I mean, I guess the thing is like if you have Okay, so I'm just gonna throw one more devil's advocate thing out there.
Oh shoot, I need to get going.
Oh, dude.
But,
Yeah. Bro,
catch you later.
I need to
Bye.
I need to talk to you about that client because she's super on board. The one I was telling you
Oh, yeah,
about.
okay.
We chatted, and if you're into it,
Cool, sure.
yeah, I'll
Yeah, we'll-
okay, get out of here, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. What I was gonna say though, and this is just my final thought on it. I know I'm just derailing this whole freaking study session. If you have a slice in your Terry's major, and the lat is still functioning at capacity, is that how much of an effect is that going to have on lat function from a neurological standpoint? I would argue a ton. I would say if there was a severed Terry's major, like if you detached your Terry's major and it was still just a synergist,
Oh yeah.
right? Like, I guess that's what I'm saying is
Yeah, because your brain is like recruiting.
that's what I'm getting at.
Recruiting motion
and I
from
think
all of these innervations,
Right, and I
it's
think
like,
that's the challenge I'm having with hierarchy of
Yeah.
tissue function is you're
What do you
not
suggest your milligram?
you're not really like ever hierarchically saying one is gonna
Do more than the other.
yeah I mean
Yeah.
I mean I see
I mean,
sometimes
it's all just working in cohesion.
it's all just a
man.
big old bag of meat. So anyway, I think, and I know that this is the
I feel like under low, I guess just in terms of like a regular movement, it's maybe not as like prevalent, but
right.
you know, like under load, I feel like the larger muscles will take over more.
Right.
If there is some smaller muscles that
100%. Right, like
I don't
I
know.
agree. Like if you were to like actually, if you were to actually like compare the capacity to do work under
Right,
load, I
right.
100%
But
agree
if it's
with
just
you.
we're talking just
The neurology, I think that's
Yeah.
where I keep going to is
yeah,
like the
it's
neurology. Like
yeah.
okay, sure, this lat has more more fiber density, more more nerve innervation,
Yeah.
but
Is it doing more or less?
yeah, exactly.
all
How
the
can we
other-
how can we prioritize from a hierarchy standpoint? And then also when we start talking about synergies, we're talking. I mean, when we talk about synergistic movements,
Yeah.
what I was gonna say earlier was that that throwing motion.
Yeah.
We're talking
I mean, it's-
about synergies of joint
It's a
action,
synergy. Yeah.
protraction, GH, kind of adduction, elbow extension, wrist flexion. We're
That's-
talking about a
That's your,
synergy.
and your trunk
Right.
rotating.
Left trunk
everything, yeah.
rotation.
Foot plant.
Right, plantar
Planning,
flexion,
your-
pelvic approximation, right? Like there's,
Yeah.
I
I
need
think
to.
this book's just a little old.
It is. I need to. I could derail us next time. I will subscribe. Yeah, subscribe to us. Nice. All right, cool. We're out of here.